What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. Today, I was going to be doing a video on what it's really like to have, I'm talking about full depth and detail on what it's really like to have a cellmate, okay? And how you actually can become closer to this individual than people that you've known your whole life, for the simple fact that you're living in a cell the size of a bathroom with them for years. But that is put on hold and will be coming your way tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Today I decided to do a little conference call with another YouTube channel by the name of Bounce Back Life After Prison. This guy is very interesting, man. He's got a lot of stories. He's done 11 years in state penitentiary. I thought it was the feds at first, but it turns out he's done all state time, which is a whole nother world, believe it or not. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Go check out all the links in the description of this video. Add me up on all the social media. Check out the Teespring. Buy yourself some merchandise, a Lockdown 23 and 1 hoodie, t-shirt. And also check out my wife's channel, The Compound 24 and 7. Look, we just got an air fryer. I got one for my mom for Christmas. The thing's a beast, okay? So if you want to learn how to air fry foods, you better go hit that subscribe button on my wife's channel. I'm going to be bringing some to my channel as well. But this little machine is absolutely amazing. It cooks some wonderful food. Some absolutely delicious food. But anyways, let's get right into the topic at hand. Interview with Bounce Back Life After Prison. I hope you all enjoy. What's up, man?
Yo, what's up, buddy?
It's been a long time coming, huh?
It has, man. I've been chipping away over here, trying to get in, link up with you, and here I am, finally here, man. Thanks for having me on for sure.
Yeah, man. I was a little, sometimes I don't like to bring other YouTube channels on because when I do stuff like this, not YouTube channels, I'm talking about like other prison channels, because when I do stuff like this, I try to go outside the box a little bit and not talk about prison, because I already talk about prison so much on my channel, you know what I mean? But, it's good to get the word out from different areas and different prisons as well, so I'm glad to have you here, man. You did a lot of Fed time, right?
Man, I didn't do any Fed time. I did straight state time. I did
State time?
11 years. Yeah, 11 years state time. I
Man,
had a manslaughter charge, so it was just a local neighborhood manslaughter charge. Yeah, I didn't do any feds. No,
well, I'll be damned. Just a good old local manslaughter charge.
just a local manslaughter, neighborhood manslaughter. Nothing funny about that, man,
It's
by
not,
any
it's not
means.
funny, man.
Um,
See, I knew you had a channel, but I really don't know much about you. I haven't been watching your content. The first time I got wind of you was from one of my someone that watches my stuff said I should do an interview with you because you had a pretty crazy, what was it, escape story, right?
Yeah, man, I had crazy. Well, yeah, damn right, crazy escape story.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
wild. We're not gonna dive into that right now, but like I said, I don't know too much about. I just guessed that you might have done Fed time because you're in Cali right now, correct?
yeah, man. Left Florida, got released 2014, and got the hell away from Florida as
Yeah,
far as I could go. So yeah, I'm out in Cali now, San Diego.
yeah. So that's another reason why I thought it might have been Feds, because I remember your story coming from Florida, and you know how in Feds they like to transport people left and right. So I didn't know. I was just guessing.
Yeah, man. Nah, just straight state time. 11 years straight of that crap, man.
Well, well, since you brought up the charge, I mean, do you mind discussing that? I don't know anything about it. This is fresh to me. I'm kind of because I know a few people that got manslaughter charges, and they're, believe it or not, even though someone lost their life, a lot of the stories I hear are actually very interesting when it comes to manslaughter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's a crazy story. It's number one is I feel horrible about it, regardless of the fact that it was proven to be an accident. There's not a day that goes by, man, that I just don't feel bad about it. But before I jump into that, man, let me say this to you and everybody on your channel. Look, man, I appreciate you having me on here. Thanks for chopping it up with me. Thanks for taking the time out. Much respect, and cheers to all y'all. So,
Hey,
greatly
uh,
appreciate it.
I don't think you said your channel. I don't think we said your channel name yet. But go ahead and tell them your information so people come check you out.
Absolutely, man. So my name's Brian Bruton. My channel name is Bounce Back Life After Prison. And just a heads up, everybody, I think that name sounds corny as hell, but I never went by nicknames. I was trying to come up with a YouTube prison channel name, and I just couldn't think of anything except for what's bigger for me is motivating people, telling people, hey, man, it doesn't matter what the hell you've been through. We can all bounce back from the bullshit. So that's why I named it that. So, yeah, it's called Bounce Back Life After Prison.
Well, I mean, that's better than my first name. My first name of my channel was Deathibring.
You know what, though, man? Like I said, I've been following you since, I think you're around like 10,000 subs. And people like it. People like what you're bringing. They like even the death part of it. You know what I mean? I know you've changed it to Lockdown 23 and 1, but people like all the slogan that you bring to the table, man. No doubt. I read the comments. I've been following you, so people are digging it, no doubt.
Yeah, there's some comments I don't put up there.
Yeah, I mean, I have some of mine on filter as well, and there's always going to be that little keyboard trolls.
Yeah, I got to go through about 100 of those a day, man. Oh my God, they say the most gruesome stuff, man. And now it just makes me smile when I read them. I tell my old lady, I'm like, so and so, this dude just said this, and we look at each other like, God, treacherous.
Hey, I can only imagine. I'm over here, itty bitty channel over here, and I get a ton of them as well. So I can imagine you're just getting hammered with them by the day.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think a lot of that's just little kids playing around. Just talking random trash.
Yeah, I believe so too. But hey, you keep on making these videos, you're gonna be right here in no time. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm aiming for, man. And again, it's there's people are jumping on this. People are interested in people's story. People, one thing I tell people is look at one of the oldest running freaking daytime TV shows, Jerry Springer. Why is that still on TV? Because people love to hear people's misery and heartache and failures. That's all that Jerry Springer is. And to me, going to prison, coming on YouTube, and then sharing it potentially with the entire world. YouTube's a worldwide platform. You're sharing your failure in life with people. So for whatever reason, people are interested in it. Yeah,
I also believe, the United States, man, at least someone in every family, someone is affected by either their family member or them themselves is in prison or jail, or has at least went there or might be facing time to go there. I just think that we have so many people getting locked up in this country that people just want to know what the hell it's all about. You know what I mean?
They do, man. There's multiple reasons, why people are interested in it. And just to touch on some numbers, in America, we have 1/25 of the world's population, which is a small amount of the people in the world, right? But in the entire prison population in the world, we have 1/5 of all the people in prison here in America. So, it's astronomical. So I don't talk to anyone that's not affected by the prison system, some type of way. They either know somebody or some of their family members in there or have been in there or they've been in there themselves. So it's definitely, we're in this niche on YouTube that's a big growing niche that, is getting a lot of interest. But for me, I'm just a little channel. So coming on guys' channels like yours, I've been over on Big Herc's channel. Hey, man, hats off to you guys. You've done it. You've succeeded at it. You're helping people. And I appreciate you having me on, giving me a platform to share my story with everybody as well, man.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here, man. So, I guess let's just, I don't know. You said, so you got a manslaughter charge. I really want to hear about this, man. Just like, I like hearing stuff just like everyone else does.
Let's dive in it, man. I'll tell you all about it. I've told my story, and, to sit down and tell my entire story, we'd be here all day. People would click off in an hour or two because they'd be like, hey, man, I can't take all this. So there's many aspects of it that I haven't, I've not sat down and told the whole thing all in one clip because it's impossible. But the way this happened was my charges from 2000. They did not press charges on me for 3 years. I ended up moving out of state. It was a crazy ordeal, right? But to back it up a little bit, in the mid 90s, I ended up becoming a local neighborhood drug dealer, crack dealer. I was selling crack. I lived in an all white neighborhood, and it was crazy, man. It was like a crack epidemic going on, to where all the white people were going across town and getting crack. I didn't even know what crack was. Somebody introduced it to me, and I was like, dude, all these people out here are smoking this shit. You can make some money with it. So I was like, huh, all right. So they hooked me up with this dude, somebody that I could buy from, and get the shit at a decent price. But I didn't even know how to sell it. So I'm running around the neighborhood, basically giving my stuff away. Didn't even realize what I was doing. But as time went on, it progressed, and I ended up doing okay as a young kid, money wise. But I knew I couldn't continue on this road of selling crack. It was only going to last for so long. So I ventured into trying to start my own business, and I ended up buying a dump truck. And then from there, I started like a small construction business where we were like clearing land, just doing like, so when they pave roads, you got to come in and do site work prior to them paving. We were doing that type of work. I had like 5 guys working for me. I'm getting away from the drug scene. But before I could get away from it, this manslaughter charge come up. And how that came up was, when I was running around selling drugs, I was all in the streets every day, hanging out in the neighborhood. There was not other white guys running around my neighborhood really doing what I was doing at this time. So I kind of stood out. And being a young guy, I had a little bit of money. It was pretty obvious with the cars and the jewelry and, all the shit that I had. It attracted attention, but the wrong type of attention, from other females in the neighborhood. At the time I was married, I had a daughter, but I didn't respect that. It really, I was a young kid. I was just wild in the streets, messing with other girls. And this one chick, man, dude, it's crazy. I already did my time. Shit's over with. But here's the situation, man. This chick, we always flirted with each other. Just, you're chick in the neighborhood, you're a young dude. She's hot. You're talking to her, flirting with her. But it was a mutual thing. We flirted back and forth. Never did anything with this chick, dude. So on this particular day, this chick that I'm talking about, and my wife were at the same restaurant eating. And while they were sitting there eating, the girl keeps looking over at my wife, and my wife is like, this is my ex-wife, by the way. She looks and she's like, hey, what's the problem? Why you keep looking over here? They knew each other, but they weren't friends, right? So the girl comes over and is like, oh, your husband's been blah, 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 just trying to stir the pot, saying I've been flirting with her and shit, right? So I pull up to the restaurant about 20, 30 minutes after my wife got there. And as I pull into the restaurant, dude, they both come outside, my ex-wife and this chick that I'm talking about. And I immediately, I see what's going on. I know there's a problem. And I'm like, oh, crap. So they confront me about it. And, dude, I'm just totally, like, blasting the chick. Excuse me. I'm totally blasting the chick, and I'm just, like, totally denying it, calling her a liar, calling her all type of foul names, saying, look, I'm telling my ex-wife, I'm like, look, the girl was wanting to buy some coke from me. I wouldn't sell her any. So now she's trying to start problems for you and I. Hindsight, I could have did a lot of things differently. I could have handled it. I could have been a man and said, look, I'm wrong. Yeah, I was flirting with the girl. You got me. My bad. But, I didn't do that. Instead, I chose to argue with the chick and try to deflect the what was going on off of me onto her. So we argued for a couple of minutes, and the people that own the restaurant come outside, and they're like, man, get out of here. You can't be in front of our place arguing like that. So I'm like, all right, cool. I jump on my motorcycle. I head to the house. A little while later, this chick's brothers start calling me, and her family's known for being wild, jumping on people, just doing random crazy shit in the neighborhood. Where I come from, where I lived at, it was a pretty rough, wild neighborhood. They call me and they're like, dude, we're going to do everything they could possibly do. Violent is what they're telling me on the phone. We're going to beat your ass and blah, 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 blah. Right. If I say everything they said to me on here, YouTube's going to flag the video. So we're not going to go into all that, but they're making a lot of threats. And I'm telling them, look, man, your sister's telling you this, but that's not what happened, because what she's telling them is that I slapped her, I scratched her car, and I ran her in the ditch. Now, look, like I said, I already did my time, dude. If I put my hands on that chick, I'd say right now, yeah, I slapped the girl, but I didn't. I didn't touch her car, and she never even got in her car, so I couldn't have ran her in a ditch. She just straight lied, 100%. So her brothers, I try to think about it like if my little sister called me saying all these things, that these guys did. Okay, yeah, I'm going to be upset. But what I know is every situation, there's about three sides to it. There's that person, the two sides, and then in the middle is the truth. So I was like, look, man, I'm trying to explain to them there's more than one side to this. All you're hearing is your sister telling you all this crap, and now you're ready to attack me. And so they're like, look, dude, we don't give a damn what you say. We're going to do what we're going to do. This is all over the telephone. They keep doing this, calling and calling. I keep hanging up on them. A couple hours later, they pull up to my house. So I hear some commotion out in front of my house, and I'm like, man, I look out, it's the dudes in front of my house. So I walk out the door. I'm like, what's up, man? And, they're running their mouth out there. They did not come in the yard. They're right outside of the gate. And I'm like, all right, y'all want to play? I got something for you. So I walk back in the house, and they assumed this is what I think. They assumed that I was going inside to get a gun. Now, let me take it back for a second. Growing up as a young kid, I moved out when I was 14. I was just always wild and into some crap. We were young kids having shootouts in the neighborhood back then. So people always knew I had some type of pistol. When I was riding my bicycle, I'd have a freaking 357 in my pocket. I'd cut a hole in the bottom of my pocket so my gun could go in. So that's the type of neighborhood we lived in. And so the guys jump in the car and leave. But what they didn't know is I had just been convicted of sales of cocaine prior to this happening. And I got rid of all the guns that I had. But they didn't know that. So they jump in the car, they leave. Now, when I go back in the house, my little girl's mother is tripping, man. She is just like, you're out here running around in the neighborhood, messing with these chicks. Now you got these guys at our house where we live at. They're threatening to do shit. What if they come by and shoot the house up? What if they light the house on fire and we're upstairs asleep? So all of this is valid points because that's, where I live at it was wild like that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go over here and tell these dudes, hey, man, stay away from my house. Your sister's full of it. Leave me alone. So when I leave, I drive my dump truck. And this is what's crazy. During my case in court, the prosecutor tried to say that I drove over here with malicious intent and tried to mow this guy down. I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. If I'm going over here to mow somebody down, definitely not driving a 22,000-pound dump truck that barely goes 60 miles per hour. So I drove the dump truck again because of these guys' reputation. They're known for being maniacs in the neighborhood. So I drive over there, and as I'm pulling up, now everybody where I'm from knows, my neighborhood. Everybody knew who I was. They know that's my dump truck. It has my name on the side of it. It's got my name and phone number on it. So as I'm pulling up, the brothers run, and like one of them runs in the street in front of the dump truck, and I'm like, what? Why is this dude just ran in front of a dump truck? Is he a maniac or what? So I swerved to miss his cat. And when I swerved to miss him, another brother, so if the truck is going forward, right? I swerved to the left to miss one of the guys, and another brother runs and jumps on. So with the dump truck, you have like steps to get up into it. It's got a gas tank with steps surrounding it and then a handle up by the door. It's pretty high, right? So one of the brothers runs toward the side of the dump truck. He tries to jump up and grab the handle. And as he jumps, his foot slips off of the step. So when his foot slips, if the truck's going this way and he jumps, his feet go under the middle of the truck. You got the front tires in the back. His feet slide under the middle and he lands on his back. And the back tires run his torso, like his chest area. The back tires run him over. So immediately when this happens, I feel the back of the truck bounce. And I'm like, what the hell? I didn't see it happen. I didn't know what happened. But I feel the back of the truck. You feel a bump. I'm like, what was that? Immediately, I got a bad feeling. I was like, something's not right. I know I didn't just hit anything. How, it was a considerable bump. We're not talking about running over a speed bump. We're talking about a person. So probably less than a minute later, the time from this point on is totally just like a blur to me, man. My phone rings And it was a buddy of mine saying, hey, your truck, he didn't say me. He said, your truck just came through and run this dude over and killed him. And dude, I was like, what? What? What did you just say? I'm thinking this. I didn't say anything to him. I hung the phone up immediately. And dude, it was like a feeling that I'm just like, dead? Am I awake? Am I dreaming this? I didn't go over here to run anybody over. I didn't go over here to kill anyone. And now this man's telling me there's somebody dead. Dude, I was tripping. I was totally panicked. People have heard my story, and people are often like, you could have did this or you could have did that. But one thing I could tell you is until you've been in those shoes, nobody knows exactly what they would do. We can say what we should do, right? In hindsight, I would say I would do a lot of things differently. I would immediately pulled over and called the cops and say, hey, look, something just happened. As soon as I got that phone call, because prior to getting the phone call, I did not know what happened. But once I got the phone call, I should have immediately called the cops. I didn't. So when he told me that, I panicked. I drove down the street, parked my truck on the side of the road, abandoned the truck, and I took off. I left. I was just in a major panic, dude. I didn't know what to do. I'd said I was just convicted of sales of cocaine. I'm known in my neighborhood by the cops as being the local crack dealer. They don't like me. Every chance they get to pull me over, they're just harassing me. Rightfully so. I'm this kid running around the neighborhood selling crack. So I know the police are against me. I'm just like, what am I going to do? I don't even know what to do. So at this point, I packed my family up and we moved. And they never did have an arrest warrant. I actually talked to a detective that was on my case. I called him on the phone, and he's like, look, man, we want to question you, but we don't have a warrant. I was like, well, if you want to question me, get a warrant. Otherwise, I don't have anything to say to you. And I moved out of state for 3 years. And 3 years later, I'm living in Carolina at the time. All this happened in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida. I'm living in Carolina now 3 years later, and my ex-brother-in-law, which is my ex-wife's brother, he's still in the game. He's still selling cocaine, but he's selling it out of his house. And they end up kicking his door in. They had an informant come in and buy dope out of his house. They come kick the door in. They arrest Buddy. They got him red-handed. An informant just did a buy out of his house. That same day, no, I'm sorry. This guy was with me that night in the dump truck. He was a passenger. So that same day, when they arrest him for that sales of cocaine out of his house, he writes a statement and tells them, hey, this guy was driving the dump truck. I mean, he did tell them that it was an accident. But that same day, the man wrote a statement against me saying, hey, this man was driving the dump truck. They immediately dropped all his charges and charged me. So they dropped his sales of cocaine charge, let him go free for writing that statement. Then they charged me with first-degree murder. And this was on May the 11th of 2003. We're talking about a capital felony, death penalty. Like, it's a wrap. So they knew they had been investigating me over the years, but they just didn't have a warrant. Now they have a warrant. So they immediately went to my mother's house, and they left a tape recorded message and was like, hey, they left a message for me. So my mom calls me and is like, hey, I got a message for you. She's like panicking. My whole family's tripping. They're like, you got a freaking first-degree murder warrant. So the message was, this was May the 11th. They said, we're giving you until May 29th to turn yourself in. May 29th was my daughter's birthday. And from investigating me, they knew that was her birthday. So they're like, we're going to give you to May 29th, your daughter's birthday, to turn yourself in. You got a warrant for first-degree murder. Listen, this is what I know. A first-degree murder warrant, they're not like, hey, man, go have a birthday party. Go hang out. We'll get with you in a couple weeks. It doesn't work that way. So I was like, yeah, right. You're going to give me until my daughter's birthday to turn myself in? Shit. I immediately hung the phone up on my mom and took off. I was like, I'm out of here, dude. Well, sure enough, they were there. They were there in Carolina trying to trick me into, just hanging out like, oh, okay, I got a couple weeks. It was on. And they ended up chasing me several times. We'll jump into that too. I'll tell you all about it. They chased me several times, like gun drawn on me, chasing me like that. And I called the detective again. And I was like, listen, man, you gave me until my daughter's birthday. You might as well go back home because you're not going to catch me until then. They're like, oh, we're gonna get you, we're gonna get you. So I'm like, nah, you're not gonna get me, bud. So and they did. It was I think right at 2 months, a month and a half later, they ended up catching me. And really, they didn't catch me. I just got tired, man. I was just like, I'm running from everything I love. I'm running from my daughter. If I'm in jail, at least everybody knows where I'm at. They can come and see me. So finally, I got tired of running. It was in, I think it was middle of July or something. I was just like, you know what? It's over with, man. They were chasing me again, but I gave up. I was like, you know what? You're going to take me to jail. You're going to take me to jail. So that's how it happened, man. You know, it was all over. It began with a lie, you know, me deflecting, trying to put some shit on this girl, and then her lying to her brothers, and then the man jumping. Basically, what happened was this man attacked. He jumped on the side of a moving vehicle. He slipped. He fell off. He fell under the back wheels, and the back wheels ran the man over. I had absolutely no intention of going over there to run anybody over. I was going to tell him, hey, stay away from my house. Leave me alone. You know, your sister is lying. But dude, they charged me with first-degree murder with that crap. It wouldn't give me any type of bond, obviously. You know, they were already chasing me around. They were like, we're not giving you no bond. So I sat in the county jail for 2.5 years fighting that case. They dropped it to second-degree murder after a little while. And then, you know, they're just like, we're going to trial on it. We're going to trial. And I'm like, all right, whatever. We're going to trial. I know I'm going to beat second-degree murder, hands down, for sure. What I was guilty of, and I wanted to cop out to that, or, you know, go to trial on that even, was leaving the scene of an accident involving a death. I was guilty of that. And in the end, I didn't even get that, because after 2.5 years, the prosecutor came to my attorney and was like, hey, we got a deal for you. They wanted me to cop out to manslaughter. And I'm like, no, I'm not even guilty of manslaughter. I'm not copping out of that. So I was like, I'll go to trial. So when I went and accept their manslaughter charge, they was like, okay. They took me back to court and added on 2 more charges. They added on attempted murder on the dude's brother that ran in front of me. And then they added on leaving the scene of an accident involving a death. So they said, this is how it's going to play. You don't want to take the charge. You're going to go to trial for 3 charges. You're going to have a second-degree murder, attempted murder, and leaving the scene of an accident involving a death. Well, just look at it. Look at statistically going to court, going to trial.
You're not going to beat all 3.
It's impossible. It's stacked against me. So I was like, no way. I'm not going to trial on all this. I'll take that manslaughter charge. So I took it, even though I knew I was not guilty of it. And what ended up happening with that was I pled out to the court. So what the judge said was, we're going to give you 3 days to present your case to the court. So it was kind of like a trial by judge without, you know, there was no jurors. And man, I had some people were like, yeah, if you had a good attorney, you know, he shouldn't have allowed you to cop out to the manslaughter. You should have still went to trial. But dude, when your life is hanging right there in jeopardy, and
I would have taken that plea as well.
Yeah, no doubt, man, because you'd lose any of that, just the attempted murder. If you lose that in Florida, that's a life sentence. So I'm like, so in court, my attorney, dude, is just making this prosecutor look like a kindergartner, you know, because they didn't really have a case. They were just pushing the issue because the guy's family kept calling them, saying, hey, you know, we want this prosecuted. And then now they finally had a way to get a warrant. So they really did not put any type of effort into it because there was no case. They presented their case. My attorney presented our case. And this is what the judge said to me. The 3rd day, he gave us 3 days to present the case to him. On the 3rd day, he calls me up. I'll never forget these words, dude. He calls me in front of the podium, and the judge is talking to me. He says, it's clear to the court that what happened was an accident. So as soon as he says that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad you see the truth here. After he said that, he said, but because you didn't come and tell us what happened, I'm going to give you 10 years to think about it. So I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I don't need 10 years to think about this. I've already been thinking about it for years. Now you want to give me 10 years to think about it? But when he said, it's clear to the court what happened was an accident. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I told you the whole thing. He said, it's clear to the court what happened was an accident. Had you went to trial, no criminal jury would have found you guilty. Now, you already know, man, Josh, in court, every word that's spoken, they're transcribing it, right? The little lady sitting there typing.
Hmm.
All this was on transcripts. This man just said, it's clear to the court, had you went to trial, no criminal jury would have found you guilty. Well, those words right there are basically saying you are innocent. No criminal jury would have found you guilty. Then he said, but because you didn't tell us what happened, I'm giving you 10 years to think about it. Now, at the time, I didn't, nobody knows all of the law. They say ignorance of the law is no excuse. It's up to you to know the law. But who the hell knows all the law, man? And later on, what I found out was if a judge knows that you're innocent of that, he was obligated not to even allow me to plea out to that. He knew I wasn't guilty of that. You know what I mean? And he said it in court. He said, no criminal jury would have found you guilty. So he was saying right there, you're innocent of this. If you would have went to trial, you would not even been found guilty. I'm like, but I mean, off of his emotions, he gave me 10 years. And when he did that, I was just like, damn, you just gave me 10 years to think about it. I was mad. I had a chip on my shoulder. I knew I was innocent. I knew I was not guilty of this crap. Um, there's no laughing matter about it. But the fact is, a man took his own life by jumping on the side of a vehicle and falling off. That I didn't run the man over. He jumped on the vehicle and fell off. I mean, what the hell? Who attacks a 22,000-pound moving vehicle?
See, now this is the crazy thing. Okay, the people when you were driving a truck, the people witnessed that was you driving, correct?
No, nobody witnessed me driving. So it happened in the evening. It was dark out. The truck had tinted windows. So
Oh,
the only thing they knew was it was my truck. That's why when the guy called me, he said, your truck. Nobody's seen a driver, except for my passenger, my ex brother-in-law. He was the only person that, he was in the truck.
okay. See, y'all's court system works a little different, man, because even if they didn't see nothing, if the people who testified were like, "Hey, it was him. He was starting stuff with us. We were getting into it. This, that, and the third." A judge in Virginia, and I've already been found guilty on stuff like this before. A judge can send out, find you guilty off of he say, she say. Don't
Oh,
need no evidence at all, man. You know what I mean?
that's great.
That's absolutely insane. What's the purpose of a courtroom then if you can't
There's none.
supply evidence for a crime? Then you can't just go off of he say, she say, but they do, and that's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's
Honestly, you're very, very lucky, honestly, to not have done that in Virginia, man. Because you'd probably still be in max security penitentiary right now. You are
right.
very lucky, man.
Well, then I'm thankful that I wasn't in Virginia. No doubt. I mean, ultimately, dude, it was an accident. But yeah,
Yeah.
each court system is different in every state. And even then, even with the court system in one state like Virginia or Florida, each courtroom is different, And what's crazy is these judges, they're supposed to have a blind criminal justice system. That's why, like, you see the little statues of the blindfolded court system. Um, it's not blind. Judges come to work with their emotions. They come to work. They had a bad night last night. Something's going on. They bring that to work with them, and you see it when you go to court. Like yourself, you've been to court a lot. I've been to court. I mean, I went 2.5 years straight, and you see when you can go in front of the same judge this week, and you see things playing out, and then you come back next week, and the judge is acting totally different. That's not that's not true justice. That's him coming with his emotions, him or her, and just dishing it out on people because they're not feeling good or they're having a bad time or they're having family issues or financial issues or whatever the case is. We're all humans and we're all subject to that. But we have a screwed up judicial system in this country, man, big time. I mean, we have to have one in place. We need it. There's maniacs out there for sure. People break the law. We have to have that system, but man, it needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
there's, and like you said, they didn't want, if you don't work with them, they'll tack on new charges. It's a big game. It's a big damn game, and they're gonna try everything they can to win at the end of the road. You know what I mean? And like me, they were trying to give me a plea bargain, to go home if I pled guilty to abduction, which carries like 50 years in prison, pretty much kidnapping.
Holy
And
cow.
I said no, I didn't kidnap nobody. You know what I mean? And I beat the charge, but I also see they try to get free convictions. They try to get it without working. They try to scare people. Jury trial in Virginia. If you get found guilty in jury trial in Virginia, you get the full sentence. That's
Oh
how
yeah.
they scare you from not going in front of a jury. When
Yeah.
really your odds are much higher of beating something when you go in front of a jury. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't take that route because they know if they're found guilty, they're going to get the max. You know?
You know, man, I don't know. I'd have to look at some in Florida. The guys that go to trial, the majority of them lose in Florida, in Jacksonville. The majority of them lose.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I was always housed on the floors with. I mean, I'm sitting there on a murder charge, so I'm housed with people that are facing serious time. And dude, I would see them all the time coming back. Lost trial, lost trial. That's a difficult one, man. That's
Yeah.
super difficult. And you know what's crazy about this? Not even just the judge, but the prosecutors. To me, the prosecutors, man, are the most vile ones. Not all of them are bad,
Whew.
but when they can take and press charges against you, and they know, and their common sense tells them, their professionalism tells them from knowing the law that you're not guilty of this, but they'll hit you, like you said a minute ago, stack charges on you, or just hit you with a trumped up charge. They have nobody to answer to whenever, so you got guys that have sat in prison for 30, 40 years and come to find out, oh, they were innocent. And this guy or woman, this prosecutor just maliciously prosecuted them knowing they weren't guilty. All they cared about was getting a conviction. But what's crazy is they don't have to answer to anybody for that. They just keep doing their job. They don't apologize. Nothing happens. It's an unchecked system that they can just do what they want to do to anybody,
Yeah.
anybody that comes through their court.
Yeah, I mean it should be the same way as me going or anyone else going to the magistrate. If you're trying to put false charges on someone, what happens? You
Yeah,
you
you're
get
in trouble.
charged with laying false charges on people, and that's pretty much
Exactly.
what a lot of district attorneys do. They put trumped up charges, false charges, just so that you cooperate and choose to take a plea. It's a very messed up and tricky game, and a lot of people think it's just clear and cut. You get charged and that's it. You go fight it. It's not. There's people, especially in the drug game. The drug game. Oh my God, there's so many loopholes and so many different kind of charges they could give you. You could just be moving an ounce of weed. It's like for the feds, you could be out moving an ounce of weed once a month, and then they'll watch you for freaking 3 years, and they'll say, yeah, he moved, like 300 pounds of weed. Well, of course, 300 ounces. I mean, 300 pounds is gonna add up after watching me for 3 years. You know what I mean? But it's a game, man, and people don't understand that in the game. I mean, honestly, I don't think it would ever. I don't think it's ever gonna change. I think it's gonna stay like this, if not get worse. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, it's not getting any better. It's an unchecked system, and it is going to get worse. And that's the problem is it's unchecked 100%. There's nobody to answer to. Who does, like you said, you go put some bogus charges on somebody. What's going to happen? You're going to get in trouble. But when this person, they charge you, and they know the law better than any of us. And when they charge you, they know. And not saying that everybody that's being charged is being charged falsely, but for the ones that do, it's crazy because there's nobody overseeing them. And the people that do oversee them, they're on the same team. They work together. They're not trying to do anything to their team members.
Yeah, and that brings me to another point. The justice system. it does have its flaws, but it does work at the same time because there's a lot of sick freaking people out there that deserve to be locked up. But at the same time, you know, people. I mean, people like me and you. Okay, of course, we used to do crazy stuff when we were younger, and like me, I went to prison for stabbing someone, but I didn't want to stab them. They came to my house, and I went to prison for it. In Florida, I probably would have beat it because they got what, stand your ground.
Yeah, they have that stand your ground.
I
Yeah,
probably that wouldn't even taking me to court for that crap. But in Virginia, they gave me time. But at the same time, people, the court system doesn't. It's like they don't know how to comprehend when a person, or they do, they just don't care when a person's actually a good individual. You know what I mean? And it was just a damn accident. It's like, come on, man. Like, anyone with common sense watching television could hear this case and say, man, dude didn't want to stab him. You know what I mean? He should never have even came to his house, regardless if I turned around and called the cops or not. You know what I mean?
right.
But that's not how it works, man. They don't take this stuff into consideration. They just look at the charge and they see that someone got hurt, someone got stabbed, and that's it. And we get shoved into the system, and we're paying $3,000 a month just to call home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you become a piece of paper. You become a file with a number.
Yep.
And they're not looking. You're exactly right. They're not looking at you. They're not looking at the case. All they care about is conviction.
Yeah.
Send them down the road. Send them up the road. Send them to prison. That's all that they care about. Is conviction rate.
It's sad, man. Because look, I told this many a times. There's a lot of people in prison. I met a lot of murderers. Okay, and I believe they might deserve to be there, but at the same time, a lot of these people that are doing time in prison, doing a lot of time in prison, especially people selling like cocaine and stuff, these dudes are some of the nicest, good-hearted individuals I've ever met. You know what I mean? And they are stuck in prison for long periods of time, man. And I'm like, damn, man, like they shouldn't even be there no more,
Yeah, no, the sentencing and some of the laws they're out of control and 100% unchecked. When you got a man that's in prison, two examples, two guys that I knew, one doing 5 years for driving on suspended license, not crashing, not hurting people. He was a habitual offender driving on suspended license, but where is the justice here? 5 years in prison for driving on a suspended license? And another one is a friend of mine from Jacksonville. Dude got caught selling 2 rocks of crack cocaine. He's doing 30 years in prison. It doesn't add up.
Yeah.
30. That's just, look at the taxpayer money that they're paying to house this man in prison for 30 freaking years, dude.
Yeah.
It's insane for 2 crack rocks. Granted, we're talking about crack and we're talking about cocaine, or, some of the drugs are really heavy and crazy. But here's the other thing about this, right? With drugs. If you and I seen this on Joe Rogan's, one of his podcasts, if you and I were the only 2 people, me and you right here and right now, Josh, who are you and who am I to tell you, hey man, you can't do those drugs. Hey, you can't put that into your body. Hey, you can't. I'm not anybody to tell you that. You're a grown man and vice versa. You wouldn't be anybody to tell me, hey, you can't do that. But dude, we've got these out of control laws that are just like, we're grown now. We're not under our parents' roof. We're not children anymore. We're not in a toy box playing. We're grown. And there's just so many out of control rules and laws that are imprisoning people over just total crap. It's crazy, man.
It is, man. And when they started that war on drugs, that's when it all started. It's hard to look at it. The way you're saying it, I understand completely. But at the same time, I know a lot of people that were addicted to drugs, and once they got locked up for getting caught with it, it changed their whole life. You know what I mean? If they didn't get locked up, they'd probably be dead, from doing the drugs. But I understand exactly what you mean. Who's to say that they can't tell you to consume something, But,
Yeah.
everything has its pros and cons, man. You know what I mean? And I guess you just gotta, outweigh it which one's doing better and which one's doing worse. I think it's doing worse for our economy. I think it's doing worse for the country at whole because all this freaking money is getting pumped into all these prisons and it's a lot of money that could be going straight to our deficit and all kinds of things. But at the same time, we're kicking a lot of money just to call home in prison. We're kicking a lot of money to buy
The
freaking
canteen.
honey buns. So
Yeah,
I don't know which one is worse. I don't know if they're making or losing. I don't know, but I know.
well, it's a multiple thing, right? And there's no perfect answer to it. So it's something that each person has to try to find the perfect balance for them. But on one hand, you're costing taxpayers tons of money. On another hand, you're creating an economy from, and a lot of the canteen, a lot of the things that are generated through the prisons where they're actually charging guys money are owned. They have political ties to people, like Keefe or Aramark, those big companies, they're tied to people like politicians and crap. So these companies that are in here that are selling things to inmates or the phone systems or now they're selling like tablets in Florida. People get tablets in Florida that they can get emails on. But you have to pay for every email that comes. You got to pay for every email that goes out. Or you can get pictures coming in. Like I could send people that I know right now in prison pictures. Or like I'm working on getting on a friend of mine's visitation list to where we can actually do live video chat, just like you and I are doing right now. And then from there, so I'm sorry. My point was you have to pay for that video chat. So on one hand, it's costing the taxpayers money. On another hand, you got people that are making a killing from having people in prison. Then you got the whole privatized prison industry.
Yeah.
There's no perfect answer to it, but one thing for sure that I feel in Florida, the recidivism is out of control. You got three big states of prison population: California, Texas, and Florida. And one of the big problems is that there's a lot of good guys in there. You've met a lot of the good guys in prison. And on the other hand, there's guys that need to be in prison. But the majority of people that are in prison today, they have a release date. Most guys are going to get out of prison. Most guys are not doing life. You have people doing life, but you've got a lot of people that are going to re-enter into society that don't have any type of skills that they can use on the streets. And there's no education. In Florida, like if you go onto the websites, they got over 100 prisons in Florida. You'll see where they say they have like some type of schooling or classes that they offer. That's on the website. That's for the public to consume. People go in there and they're like, oh, you got electronics class, you got an AC class. Dude, they're not teaching you shit in those classes. They may have it, they may offer it, but all they're doing is getting funding for it. And the teacher will tell you, I don't give a damn if you come in here and do anything. They're getting funding for it. So if they would just take some of the money and actually teach people some skills that they could use when they get out, you would have a lot of guys that wouldn't go back to the same shit because now they have a skill set that they can use on the streets and actually survive out there. And, it's up to each person. So, if you in life, one thing that I tell people is you owe you. Nobody owes you anything. But if we're talking about fixing the system, man, that's one way that we can do some good repair to it, is teaching people things. It is up to each person to go out there and learn and make the life that each person wants to live. But man, educating these guys that are in prison could go a long ways to just slowing down the recidivism.
Yeah. A lot of my homeboys, I'll tell you, man, a lot of my homeboys that are back in the penitentiary, like my buddy GRIZZY,
Yeah.
he got his fourth violation, and he got pulled over with someone that he was driving with. He was passenger, and they found they were smoking a blunt, and they found a half a blunt underneath his seat. They charged him with a half a blunt of weed. They were trying to give him 11 years on his fourth
Wow.
violation for half a blunt of weed. Well, it turns out he beat the charge. The dude took the charge because he wasn't really facing nothing. He ended up taking it. But now he's about to get out, but he was facing. They were trying to give him 11 years for a fourth violation, man. Simply because the judge noted in his stuff, said, hey, we're going to give you all back if you mess up again. All of your time back.
Yeah.
And that was noted in his file. He told me it was noted in his file and stuff. So I'm like, man, people are going back and forth to prison because they just can't stop smoking weed. You know, it's
There's
crazy.
not one person. We can go into the science of it. Not one person should be in prison for marijuana. Not a single person. If there's still a stigma behind it. There's a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of old people that still are like, oh, you're doing drugs. No, we're talking about marijuana, something that's naturally occurring, naturally growing, that when you get into the science of it, man, just even for children, they have extracts. One of them is called Jaden juice, that is an extracted form of marijuana that they give to children that prevents them from having seizures, dude. And I say that because I had a family member that lived in Florida, and her daughter, sweet little girl, man, but she was born messed up. She will forever be messed up. She's totally disabled, and she's had seizures since she was a baby. Like violent seizures, like all day long type of stuff, right? And the doctors, the hospitals, all they want to do is pump this kid full of medication. That it just makes her sit there and drool. She's just nothing. She's just sitting there drooling. So she found out about Jaden juice, and somebody got her some Jaden juice over in Florida. And when she went in for a doctor visit, and they did a blood test and seen she had Jaden juice, a form of THC in her blood, they told the mother, look, if your kid comes back again with this, we're going to put you in jail and we're going to take your child. Like, are you kidding? This is the one thing that she can take, and she doesn't have her seizures, and she's not just sitting there drooling. And I mean, it's true 100% scientifically benefiting this child. And they were going to put the mother in jail. You know what her mom did? She packed her shit and moved to California. She's like, you're putting me in jail, and I'm going to help my kid. Who are you to tell me I can't give this to my kid when it's really helping her?
Yeah, I mean,
Nope.
shit. Look at the freaking pills that she's probably taking. Way
That's
worse than that, probably.
absolutely. Those pills are what's keeping that kid sitting there just drooling and being nothing all day. This is just insane, man. Nobody should be in jail for marijuana. Those days are long gone and over with. They should not be in jail for that, man. Absolutely not.
Well,
Yeah.
man, look, we're gonna have to do a part 2. This thing's probably like an hour long already. But hey, man, look, I'm gonna catch you on the next episode later on. I got a few people I need to put on here, but man, I appreciate you coming on the show and telling your story, man. I had other questions for you, but like I said, it's getting long, and we'll do it part 2 here soon. But thank you, man, for coming on to the show and telling your story.
Hey, man, absolutely, dude. It was my pleasure. It's great to be on Lockdown 23 and 1. It's an amazing show. I've been riding with you since since you was a little one.
That's what's
Get
up,
out here
man.
like me. So hey, man, I appreciate it. Hats off to you, to all of your fans, to all your supporters, to all of your subscribers. Nothing but love and respect to you guys. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me on.
Hey, anytime, man. And once again, your channel's Bounce Back, Life After Prison, for anyone that wants to go check out his stuff and hit that subscribe button. Hey, look, even if you don't like prison content or whatever he might bring to the table, I'll tell you this, and I said it in a live stream the other day. You got a very soothing voice, my friend.
Hey, I seen where you said that in there, right? And I've been getting comments where people are like, "Hey, you need to do ASMR." Do you know what that is?
Yes, yes, yes. Where people just kind of talk because your voice is so soothing.
Yeah, I told my wife that the other day, and she's like, "Who is this telling you that?"
You should do it, but do it like with the most insane, crazy, violent stories, and they'll be like, "I don't know what to take from this." It's this guy just got violently murdered, but he's saying it so nicely, you know.
Hey, I like it. I like it. Good one, man. I'll put that one on the. Yeah, I'll write that one down. I like that. Great idea.
Anyways, man, like I said, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll do a part 2 soon. All right, buddy.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
All
Thanks
right,
again for
man.
having me.
Salute to you and your fans as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Lockdown 23 and 1. Hey, lockdown 23 and 1. Hey, lockdown 23 and 1. Got you. Lockdown 23 and 1. Hey, lockdown 23 and 1. Got you. Lockdown 23 and 1. Hey, lockdown 23 and 1.